She looked at you like you were the answer, and then one day, she looked right through you. You didn't cheat. You didn't fail. You didn't stop showing up. You just kept building something bigger than the little world she wanted you to live in. And that, brother, was your crime. Nobody warned you about this. They told you that if you worked hard enough, led hard enough, loved hard enough, the right woman would stand beside you and hold the torch, so you gave everything. Your nights, your focus, your fire. And she still walked. Now you're sitting there asking the question every ambitious man eventually asks in the dark. What did I do wrong? Here's the truth. No one has the courage to say out loud, you did nothing wrong. You just became too much to orbit around a small life. Napoleon Bonaparte understood this better than any man who ever lived. He conquered half of Europe. Kings trembled at the sound of his name. Armies dissolved when he appeared on the field. And yet, when it came to the one woman he loved, Josephine, he was reduced to writing letters that begged, that pleaded, that practically crawled for her attention. While he was out rewriting the map of the world, she was entertaining other men in Paris. Sit with that. The most powerful man on the planet could command nations, but he could not command the loyalty of a woman who feared the size of his fire. That was the moment Napoleon learned something brutal, something they will never teach you in school, something that will change how you see every relationship you've ever had. He learned that greatness and comfort do not share a bed. He learned that most women are not built to choose the visionary. They are built to choose the man they can manage. This video is not about hating women. It's not about bitterness. And it's not about revenge. It's about a cold, historical, uncomfortable truth that every man with a mission needs to understand before it breaks him the way it nearly broke Napoleon. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand why she didn't choose you, you'll finally stop bleeding over the wrong question. So let's talk about the price of vision. Let's talk about why the world bows to men that women walk away from. So why does she do it? Why does a woman look at a man who leads, who builds, who burns with purpose, and quietly choose the one who doesn't? It isn't stupidity. It isn't blindness. It's something far older than either of them, something wired deep beneath the surface. Most women don't choose safety because they're weak. They choose it because greatness feels like a threat to the life they can predict. Think about what a visionary man actually is. He's unavailable by design. His mind doesn't shut off. He wakes up with ideas and falls asleep with strategy. He misses the dinner, forgets the text, disappears into the work for days at a time because something bigger is pulling at him. To a woman looking for a stable center of gravity that isn't attractive over the long run, it's terrifying. He can't be tamed, can't be scheduled, can't be made to orbit her moods. And so she calls it emotional distance, when really it's just gravity pulling him somewhere she can't follow. Now look at the other man, the safe one, the stable one. He's agreeable. He doesn't disrupt. His entire world revolves around her needs, her timeline, her comfort. He answers every message in seconds. He rearranges his life around her feelings. He never asks her to grow, never challenges her, never forces her to face herself. He isn't a king. He's a shelter, and to most people, shelter feels a lot safer than a storm. Here's the part that stings. She'll love the safe man. She'll build a life with him. But deep down, in a place she'll never say out loud, she knows he isn't more than her. He's just there. He's manageable, and manageable feels like peace. Napoleon watched this play out in his own marriage. He gave Josephine an empire, a crown, a name history would never forget. And still it wasn't the crown she craved. It was control. It was a man who would soften, pause his mission, and revolve around her. Napoleon couldn't be that man. His heart beat to the rhythm of destiny, not domesticity. So she drifted, and he learned the lesson the hard way. Understand this clearly. Most women don't reject the visionary because he lacks value. They reject him because he can't be owned, can't be predicted, can't be made small enough to fit inside a comfortable life. And comfort, not greatness, is what most people are really chasing. Now here comes the twist that changes everything. That fire she walked away from, the very thing she called too much, was never a flaw. It was the proof. You weren't rejected because you were broken. You were rejected because you were a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. They don't flatter. They reflect ruthlessly. Your discipline showed her where she was inconsistent. Your obsession exposed her distractions. Your solitude highlighted her dependency. Your refusal to stop reminded her of every dream she abandoned. And that kind of reflection is unbearable for most people, so they smash the mirror and call it heartbreak. This is the paradox no one prepares you for. The exact fire that drew her in is the fire she'll come to resent. At first, she's proud. She tells her friends how driven you are, how passionate, how different. She glows in the reflected light of your ambition, but admiration has a shelf life. Slowly, the pride curdles into distance. The distance hardens into frustration, and the frustration finally settles into resentment, because what she wanted was never your mission. She wanted the feeling your mission gave her, the illusion of greatness without the weight of it. And the weight is what breaks it. So understand what actually happened when she left. She didn't leave because you failed. She left because you refused to slow down. She left because you kept climbing when she wanted you to stay put. That's not a rejection of your weakness. That's a reaction to your strength. Read that again. She didn't abandon a lesser man. She fled a greater one. And here's where you stop being a victim and start seeing clearly. Exceptional men aren't loved more. They're loved less, at least in the soft, safe way you were promised, not because they lack value, but because they threaten the illusion. Their fire exposes mediocrity. Their focus feels like rejection. Their presence forces growth, and most people don't want to grow. They want to rest. They want to be told they're already enough. Napoleon felt this in his own bones. He was hated, feared, misunderstood, called cold, but he was never ordinary, and he never stopped. That was the trade-off he accepted. So stop grieving the woman who couldn't hold your reflection. Her leaving wasn't a verdict on your worth. It was confirmation of your size. The mirror did its job. She just couldn't stand what she saw. So here's the moment that actually matters. Not what she did. What you do now. Because right here, standing in the wreckage, asking why she left, you have a choice that will define the rest of your life. You can turn bitter. You can join the mob of angry men who mock women, swear them off, and hide their wound behind rage. Or you can do the harder thing, the thing Napoleon did after Josephine broke him. You can turn inward and get to work. Bitterness is easy. It feels like strength, but it's just pain wearing a costume. The man who spends his life blaming women has simply handed them the keys again, this time to his anger instead of his affection. Either way, she's still running the show inside his head. Real freedom looks different. Real freedom is when you stop asking her to make you feel like enough and start becoming a man who already knows he is. That means facing a brutal question. Who are you without her approval? Strip away the validation, the applause, the warm body that told you you mattered. What's left? For most men, that silence is terrifying because they built their entire sense of worth on being chosen. But the man who can stand alone, without applause, without being needed, is the man who can finally build something that lasts. You don't find your worth in her eyes. You find it in solitude, in the work, in the fire nobody sees. And this is where the ancient trade-off becomes real. Comfort or legacy. You don't get both. The man who tries to juggle both gets torn in two. So ask yourself honestly, what are you actually chasing? A nest or an empire? Because the world will not hand you both, and pretending otherwise is the lie that keeps ordinary men ordinary. Napoleon made his choice. He chose the empire, not because he hated love, but because he understood that love, in the form he'd been sold, demanded a compromise that would kill his legacy. You don't carve your name into history by prioritizing date night. You don't build monuments by being endlessly available. So, let her leaving be the fire that forges you. Let the loss burn away the part of you that begged to be chosen, because on the other side of that fire is a man who no longer waits for permission to be great. And that man is coming. And that man, the one who walks out of the fire, is a different creature entirely. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He doesn't rearrange his soul to earn a seat at someone else's table. He's rarely chosen in the soft, easy way, and he's made his peace with that, because he understands the final truth Napoleon died knowing. Some men are meant to be loved, others are meant to be remembered, and you don't get to be both. Look at what you become when you stop performing. You stop attracting women who want a character to manage and start drawing the rare few who want the truth. You stop needing her to complete you, and paradoxically, that's exactly when respect appears. Not because you went cold, but because you went clear. She can no longer control you with affection, shape you with tears, or manipulate you through absence. You don't need her to feel whole, and that makes you powerful in a way most people can't even understand, only feel. But let's be honest about the cost, because I won't sell you a fantasy. This path is lonely. You will outgrow relationships. You will be called cold, arrogant, emotionally unavailable by people who mistake your focus for cruelty. The higher you climb, the thinner the air gets, and fewer people can breathe where you're going. That's not arrogance. That's physics. Statues are not built for gentle men. History is not written by the emotionally available. The world does not follow men who ask permission to be great. It follows the ones who refuse to kneel. So if you're that kind of man, the kind who would rather be alone with the truth than surrounded by comfortable lies, then stop asking why she didn't choose you. You already know. She didn't want greatness. She wanted safety. And you were never built to be safe. You were built to be the storm. Napoleon was hated. He was feared. He was misunderstood. But he was never ordinary, and he never stopped. Neither should you. If this hit something real in you, don't just scroll away and forget it by tomorrow. Like this video. Share it. Subscribe. Not just for you, but for the next man still sitting in the dark, still asking the wrong question, still bleeding over a woman who was never meant to carry his fire. Let's wake him up. One man at a time. The time is now.